Be a very
Owning a credit card has its pros and cons, but for some, it is a hassle-free way of making in-store and online transactions. But for others, spending may be a little too easy as payment for their purchases pile up. So we have with us here today Guita Gopalan. She's the Managing Director of the Colayco Foundation to discuss with us misconceptions and the proper use of the credit card.
Exactly, Miss Claudia. Like how you mentioned it. For some, it's easy. It's more convenient. For others, it's a more convenient way to get into trouble.
Yes, I know. I mean, that is, it's really, people probably don't think of it as much, but, credit cards is, it's kind of like a tempting way to just keep spending because it's a piece of plastic in your wallet that, but actually it's real money that you're spending. So, but for those, the pros of having a credit card, is it really good or is it better to have a credit card or not?
Well, a credit card offers you convenience. I mean, the first thing is that you're not carrying a wad of cash all around and then feeling unsafe because, people might be looking at you knowing that you have a wad of cash in your bag or in your wallet. So that convenience and that safety and security is something that's afforded to you by a credit card.
True.
As opposed to if you had a lot of money in your pocket. That's really one very clear reason why you should get a credit card. Now, the other is, of course, it's beneficial because all your transactions get recorded. You don't have to go through the hassle and pains of doing it yourself, like noting it on your smartphone, or if you carry this little notebooks or you list down everything you spend. Like when you're transacting through credit card, on the bill, it's all there.
True.
So it lessens your workload in terms of managing your money. And then, of course, there are all those points and rewards and all those promos that you can take advantage of if you're not spending impulsively.
True, true.
So, I mean, 1 peso is 1 peso. That's effectively a 1% discount on future expenses or future buys. Or if you use it for miles, then, you could get a trip for free for as long as you're spending it on, you're actually using it for things that you actually spend on rather than you just saw it and then, oh, I want that.
Now, some people would say, I don't have a credit card, but I have a debit card that can serve just like a credit card. So what can you say for, for people like that?
Actually, if you're disciplined enough, like if you have enough self-control, then a credit card or debit card works both ways.
Okay.
No? A debit card has the added advantage of not incurring any interest or debt, and you don't have any annual fees that you have to pay for it. So in that sense, and especially now, debit cards are also accepted online. So before you couldn't, only credit cards. So now it's accepted also. So, the advantages of getting a credit card is not as high anymore. If you have a debit card that you can use practically anywhere with the point of sale systems and all of that.
Right.
So on those 3 points that I mentioned, then they're sort of like equal.
Right. Now, but there are also some who are saying that there are threats of using a debit card because people might have access to your bank account because you're giving them basically your account number. Maybe that without them knowing what the PIN number is, but there could be some ways of finding out. So what can you advise regarding debit card using?
Well, regardless of credit card or debit card, you still have that threat.
The fraud, okay.
I myself, I've experienced that. I don't know where they captured my credit card information, but they were able to capture it and use it for some dubious online transaction.
Right.
Luckily, the bank was able to tell me, hey, something weird is happening with your card. So they were able to stop it. Now with debit cards, that is the difficulty. Because once a transaction is transacted or affected,
it's gone.
Then it's gone.
Your money's gone.
Yeah, it's very difficult. At least in the States, it's very difficult to get back any debit card transactions, and it takes a long time. Whereas in a credit card, it's mostly reversal. So you call the bank if it's really something that you didn't do and you can provide supporting information, etc. Then that's something they can easily reverse and you won't be charged anything. Whereas in debit cards, it could be removed immediately and it would take a long time for you to get it back, if ever.
Okay, so there's more security by using a credit card.
Yeah, that's as of today. So we're not sure about security protocols in the next few years. So as of now, a credit card would give you an added advantage of being more secure.
Okay.
At least reversal
Okay, now disadvantages. Although it's normal, I mean, of course, the credit card will collect your penalties if you pay late, and then some hidden charges. So what's your advice regarding that?
Well, the penalties really, that's up to you. You have to pay it, obviously, you know. More than the hidden charges, actually, there's nothing hidden. They all disclose that upon you getting or applying for a credit card. That's all listed on the back side where the font is really so small. That's where everything is written. So it's not really hidden. But what more than the fees or the penalties, which you can just avoid by being responsible and paying on time, what people fail to realize is the interest that is accrued every time you make a purchase and every time you don't pay the balance of your credit card at the end when the billing statement comes.
Right.
Yeah, because when your bill comes, you have two amounts that are listed there. Your total balance and then your minimum amount due.
Yes.
Now, a credit card is not an installment purchase, you know, unless you apply for a specific installment. If you just use your credit card, then it's a straight out transaction, and that whole amount goes to your total balance.
Okay.
Your minimum amount due is composed of any installment purchases and only a very small portion of your total balance. Now, anything that you don't pay at the end of the month gets added, is charged interest.
Right, right.
So, which is about depending on your card,
Yes.
it can be from 2.75 to 3.5 or even 4% for some. But that's per month.
Yes.
So some people don't realize that, oh, it's 3%, it's not so high.
So it builds up as you go.
Yes.
So what is a smart way of paying your credit card bills?
Ideally, you pay the whole thing.
The whole amount.
The whole amount.
Every month.
Every
so
time the
basically
bill
you
comes.
spend, you use it only as much as you can pay at the end of the month.
So it's like you're using it like a debit card as well. Because you have the cash to pay for your purchases.
Right.
Now, if you do take advantage of all these installment offers, go ahead. I mean, it's a facility that's available. But at the same time, whatever the total balance is, you pay that also.
Okay. Now, before we go, I guess for those who don't have credit cards yet and are interested, what do they need to know in order to apply for a credit card?
One is if you don't have self-control, if you're an impulse buyer, even if you just have cash, better not get into it. It's because interest is charged monthly, it can compound. You know, you can start out with a 5,000 peso purchase, and if you don't pay for it in total, it can balloon up to 100,000 in a year or 2 years. So if you're not careful, so it's best that if you have that kind of propensity to spend, you know, stick with your debit card or stick with cash. Now, if you are more disciplined, then go ahead. Look for a credit card that matches your spending. There are a lot of different types of cards. If you like to spend more, or if you rather spend more on groceries, maybe they have promos and rewards that are more geared towards that, or if you're a frequent traveler, etc.
Right.
So they will be looking at how much you earn and also asking you for supporting documents regarding that. But it's really very simple. Just remember that once you get your first credit card, your information is shared in a database. So you eventually be offered other credit cards, other loan options. So that's a trade-off that you get.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for all those tips. I'm sure the audience has learned a lot today from you. Thanks again for coming in.
Thank you for having me here.
And that was Guita Gopalan, the Managing Director of Colayco Foundation. And more expensive electricity bills loom next month due to extra generation charges from increased power demand. And also up next, the list of nominees for the Tony Awards is out. We'll tell you more about that later. You're watching the Solar News Channel. Stay tuned.